There is big breaking Benghazi news this morning. We want to get right to it because the man who has broken this story is ABC News Chief White House Correspondent Jonathan Karl, and he's on the phone right now. Basically, just to sum it up, it's about the talking points and how we came to make the case that this had something to do with the video. You are now reporting that there were 12 revisions of these talking points. What is the news inside that headline?
Well, the news is that the CIA initially drafted a rather extensive version of the talking points that made specific references to al-Qaeda-affiliated groups taking part in the attack, to warnings that the CIA had made in the months prior to the attack about the security situation and the al-Qaeda threat in Benghazi and eastern Libya, and that as they went through these 12 revisions, there were concerns that were expressed by the State Department, by the State Department spokesperson, about including references to al-Qaeda and about those warnings, and that after those concerns were expressed, the talking points were scrubbed, and you got ultimately what we ended up having was Susan Rice's talking points on those Sunday shows. Now, I should point out that there had been also some excellent reporting on this earlier this week. Some of this out there by Stephen Hayes in the Weekly Standard, and what I was able to get, in addition to Steve's great reporting, is the actual versions of all 12 versions of those talking points.
Which, by the way, are posted on our website at WMAL.com. You can read these for yourselves. Now, State Department spokesperson Victoria Nuland, it seems to be the person who is driving these revisions. And she says at one point that we need to change this because, and this is a quote, it could be abused by members of Congress to beat up the State Department for not paying attention to warnings. So why would we want to feed that either? That seems to be expressing the concern that they were more concerned about politics than getting at the real truth here.
Well, you can certainly see in these emails that Nuland was trying to protect the State Department in this. And part of her concern also, frankly, was that the CIA, in drafting these talking points, was trying to cover itself up by saying, we warned, the State Department's fault. So she was pushing back. And what's significant about all of this is that, if you recall, the White House has said consistently that Susan Rice said what she said because of what was in the CIA talking points, and that nothing was changed in those talking points by the State Department or the White House except for a single word. Jay Carney said a single word was changed, but this was entirely a CIA product. And what you see is, in fact, extensive input was put into this by the State Department. And by extension, by the White House, because you also see another one of the emails related to this has Ben Rhodes, the Deputy National Security Advisor, saying that State Department's concerns must be incorporated into the talking point.
Actually, Jonathan Karl, you've actually led me right to where I wanted to go. Talk to me about Ben Rhodes, of course, a National Security Advisor for Strategic Communications, operating out of the White House, not out of Foggy Bottom. What exactly was his role in these memos?
Well, his role was precisely that, was to say that state has expressed concerns, and that all of the agency's concerns, not just the CIA, but all the groups involved in what they call the interagency process, need to be addressed, including State Department's concerns. Now, what I don't see is any evidence that Rhodes or anybody else at the White House was specifically asking that this stuff be deleted. As far as I can see, in all of this, the concerns were being expressed by the State Department,
right?
But that Rhodes said, "Hey, we have to listen to states' concerns," and then bingo, it happens. The talking points are boiled down to say very, very little.
Right, and it seems to me that when you, and I'm guessing at today's press briefing there will be plenty of questions about this for Jay Carney, and we're looking forward to that. It seems to me that his response is going to be, listen, the CIA signed off on this, and there's nothing erroneous in those talking points, which is true technically, but ultimately there is a lot of information that was omitted. It's really a lie of omission, is it not, if it wasn't the whole truth that was put out there. And it seems, based on your reporting, that the reason that it was omitted was based on the State Department's wanting. Is that correct?
They were admitted after the State Department expressed these concerns. You know, there is a point here that's very important, which is in all 12 of these versions, and I find this this amazing. In all 12 of these versions, including those written entirely autonomously by the CIA, right at the top it says that the attack in Benghazi began as a spontaneous reaction to the protests in Cairo. Now, given all that we have learned since, that was obviously not true, right? I mean, it's just
right.
That was incorrect. But the CIA, our intelligence agencies, were saying that that's the intelligence they gathered. When how could they make a mistake like that? I mean, all you had to do was get on the phone to anybody that was at the consulate at the time, right? I mean, they all saw that this began as a large group of heavily armed men storming the compound.
Right, we clearly heard that in the hearings this week.
And there was a document that was revealed in the hearings this week from that was Assistant Secretary for Near East Affairs, who was recounting a conversation she had had with the Libyan ambassador. The Libyan ambassador at that time had suggested, well, this may have been some Gaddafi people left over who stirred up the trouble. And she said, I disabused him of that notion. Basically, I told him, no, these were Islamic terrorists.
Right, and it's a real question that I think that the CIA needs to account for too. I mean, you have a couple of issues here. You have clearly revisions were happening in terms of the edits. You're correct, exactly right. That were at least asked for by the State Department, and that contradicts what we had heard from the White House before. But the other question is just how our intelligence agencies could be so wrong about something that was so obvious.
So what is your number one question today at the White House briefing?
Well, I would like to know, and I think I know the answer. I think you've given us a sense, but I would like to know if Jay would like to revise and extend his comments about there only being one word change by the State Department or the White House.
Jonathan Karl will be watching, and I'm hoping, and I know you guys talk to each other. I'm hoping that your colleagues there on the front row during the briefing, I hope they all have some questions too. Are you gonna compare notes?
Well, it's always a question of who goes first, and I'm sure this will be asked. I'm sure many people want to ask.
It's the follow-ups that we like to watch. All right. They can't prepare for the follow-ups. Yeah. Jonathan Karl, ABC News Chief White House Correspondent. Great reporting, sir.
And just want to say again, if you want to, sort of look at this for your own self and make a decision about it, we're posting all 12 of the revisions on our WMAL website. You just go to WMAL.com and you can make your own decision about what happened here.
Interesting reading.
It is.
Courtesy of Jonathan Karl at
Thanks,
ABC
Jonathan.
News.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you so much for joining